Are you concerned about all this corruption being misgendered as conspiracies? Well, don't you worry. Sit back, relax, and join in the conversation as we talk with today's guest. Welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast with your host, Chris Brooks.
Hello and welcome to the channel. It is me, Chris Brooks, and welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast. Today I'm joined by Walter Mitty, and Walter Mitty is going to tell us all about the experiences that he has had with state corruption. Welcome to the show. Nice hat, by the way.
Oh, cheers. So this is my hobo look. I'm also a bit of an actor, which is a recent thing. And I played the hobo on the Polar Express for Churnet Valley.
Really?
Yeah,
Cool.
Can you see me? Put your hands up if you can see me. So yeah, and this is what confuses a lot of authorities as well. They see what I post online and they think it's real. Very strange. Yeah, there's some comedy comes out of the corruption sometimes, you know, especially when
definitely.
you're dealing with someone who doesn't lead a life like theirs that they don't understand, you know. So I was born in Hull, and then at the age of 2 I was moved from Hull to the Midlands, to Cuckley near Kidderminster.
hmm
And I've got this memory that it's kind of like a didactic, I think they call it, where there's certain things that I remember really clearly from very young age. So I can remember quite a lot about living in Cuckley. Weirdly enough, I met someone the other day who knew the people who lived across the road from us, the Brookses, famous sort of like almost gypsy family that lived in a house.
Brookses.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
Brooks.
So, and steel stampings. It was kind of like a gypsy-ish area, you know, where people were transitioning from being on the road, the old rag and bone men, into houses. And I left there in 1974, not on my own. That would be silly at the age of 6. My parents took me to live on Anglesey, in Llanfairpwll, Gwyngyll Gogerich, Chwn Robert Llansilio Gogogoch. As an English kid,
Easy for you to say.
well, yeah, it's not that, well, it wasn't at first, but it did get you 50p a go from the American tourists if you got on the buses and said the name.
Really?
So, yeah. But again, so part of the problem in Wales is that I was an English kid and you're treated differently, you know, from day one. So that's the first experience I got of people being hostile to me, and I didn't know why. And it's just purely because my parents were part of the perceived problem
hmm
of holiday cottages at the time, and the thing that's happening now where people are getting priced out of their own homes. The truth is my parents were broke, and the reason we moved to Wales was because we could afford a house there, you know. And we did.
Unlike today.
Yeah. You could sell a house in England for about 4 times the price of a house in Wales, and so you could move there. And my dad was a quantity surveyor, and his first job was with Watkin Jones, when Watkin Jones was first starting up, when they were a little outfit. They've gone on to be huge. So a lot of these Welsh companies that started on Anglesey went on to be really big, and a lot of the people that I was in school with went on to be famous. Aled Jones was in my first year when I was leaving. Another guy called Julian Lewis Jones. Oh, that guy that played Elton John went to our school, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, loads of. So this is all stuff because I've never been interested in the TV, that I've only found out since I've had the time to go online and have a dig. Oh, I remember him. So, for example, there was a film called First Blood with Ray Winston's daughter in, and that was produced by a girl called Nerys Lloyd. Now, Nerys Lloyd was my friend just as we left school. We sort of knocked around during that period, and I went down to Cardiff to visit her when she was studying drama at the Sherman Theatre in her first year. So just weird stuff like that happens to me all the time. And it's because of the school I went to. Imagine it's a bit like going to Hogwarts if you go to school. So I noticed corruption in police from a very young age. So our local copper, my first experience with the police was, I was walking home one day and someone had set a fire on this thing we used to call it the rocks, and I alerted the guy opposite because I tried to put it out. It was only in scrub. It wouldn't have gone very far, but it was spreading up and it was getting bigger. So I alerted the guy across the road, who was a retired policeman, who rang the fire brigade. And then I told him who it was, and I went home. Now, there was only me and my brother in the house. We're both under 16, and the local copper turns up and walks in. And fair dues to my brother, even though he was really young, he threw him out. He said, he had a chat with me, and he said, "Are you sure you didn't light it?" And I went, "Yeah." And then he said, "Because you know that what needs to happen is whoever's done that needs just to be taken over my knee and given a good spanking." At which point my brother
Sounded
threw
more
him
like
out.
a fetish.
Yeah, it was the old school where they thought, clip round the ear was all that they needed, but really, it wasn't me. So my first impression of going to the police was, if you do, they blame you. Now that has gone on from there, even though I've worked with the police and helped them because of my job, which I'll get to a bit later. So a few years later, my dad's coming home late at night with the family in the car from South Wales down the old A5, and he overtakes a cop car, and this cop car accelerates, forces him to cross the double white lines before he can cut back in. And then blue lights on, pulls him and said, "I'm doing you for overtaking on the double white lines." My dad spent a year going nuts, reading up law books and God knows what else, and drinking himself into a stupor with stress over going to court over this. And when he gets to court, the coppers had lied about who was driving the car and all that kind of stuff. And even though that was proven in court, my dad still got done on a technicality for committing the offence, and nothing happened to the police officers except for don't do it again, which obviously isn't a deterrent. They'll carry on doing it because they got away with it. And it appears to have become a culture in Welsh policing in particular. I don't know what it's like elsewhere, because the local copper will have grown up in the village, gone away to train, and then come back, and he's got his friends there, and your friends are going to compromise you. So we'll get on to, more up to date. So on the 17th of May 2021, I was sat in my house, in my office studio, having done lockdown. So I'm an EPOS, or was, project manager and software developments manager. And I've been doing that for 20 years for a company in Manchester. I got clients like Albert Hall, Mission Mars, Albert Shared, Trough, which is now Ramona in Manchester, Joel Wilkinson. So I kind of knew everyone. I did stuff for Simon Rimmer's restaurants, Greens and so on. And I also did contracts for police, military, NHS, and Freemasons, by the way, Freemason halls.
Really? They seem to be a running theme through my podcasts.
Oh, well, I did Cheshire View in Chester, who, the reason I got that is the company I worked for had the contract, then I left, set up my own company, and a year later I decided to leave all my old company's customers alone for a year. I was canvassing, I thought, oh, I'll go and see how they're getting on, drop a card in, and they said, no, we already deal with someone. I went, yeah, no, Avatil. I just thought, if you're not getting the service you want. And then they said to me, well, actually, it doesn't work. So I said, if you like, I'll take a look at it. And within about 5 minutes, I could see what the problem was. It was a configuration issue. Got the thing up and running, got all their information back, and they had all these figures for a few years back into their system. And they were like, right, yeah, you got the contract. And her husband, the secretary that was running the place, was a police officer. And to be fair, I got on with him really well. There was crazy stuff happened there, though. The steward, Ken, I got called out one day. He'd got a bandage on his head. He'd had a bang on the head. He'd been robbed, right? Turned out he hadn't. He'd gone and turned the place over himself and then bashed himself on the head and run across the field to the local pub to set it all up. So you can't make these things up. So the things you see when you're doing this job. So I've spent my life digging into patterns of behaviour and looking for people fiddling and, all that kind of stuff, and presenting ways that people could be getting around the system. Which, let's look at Fujitsu, eh? and the post office scandal. So one of the things that we don't do is we don't cover up mistakes, because if we've made a mistake, someone's going to lose their job and get tarred as a there's a thief. So the first thing we have to do is doubt ourselves and doubt the
Yeah.
system. So I learned a lot. I end up doing fixing tills in Wrexham police station. Turns out most of them are Freemasons. You know what I mean? At one point, I had access because I would populate the databases. Oh, I also did the Carlton Club in Manchester. Now that is the real Parliament, if you like. So right next door to Rosso, there's a little gentleman's club, and in there, most of the members are House of Lords or judges or
Mm.
Tory ministers and stuff. And that's interesting as a working class guy doing tills in there. I was in there one day when Parliament was on. There was this guy, don't know who he was, but he's very posh, big strawberry nose, and he's watching the TV, Parliament's on, and he just goes, "Bloody shower of shite, these lot," pointing at Boris Johnson. And for the first time in my life, I thought, there's a Conservative I like.
Can't argue with that.
Well, the real tough ones are
Mm.
kind of okay, you know what I mean? The old school ones, it's changed. What conservatism means has changed a lot, you know. We did used to need the gentry and they needed us. It doesn't seem that we do anymore, you know.
No.
So from that job, I see a lot of what goes on. Seeing a lot of people's money. I could tell you how much certain businesses turn over. This is all stuff you keep to yourself, you know. We also deal with the police a lot because we have CCTV on our thing. I've also got CCTV on my house at home. And on 2 occasions, I've used it to catch crooks for the police. I stopped helping them in the end because they'd knock on my door wanting stuff. But when I got burgled twice, they're not interested in helping me.
No.
So I thought,
Too
no.
much paperwork.
Yeah. So what I started doing was I'd help the person who'd had the stuff stolen to recover stuff. So it's not that hard, to be fair. My CCTV picked up a gang of gold thieves from Walsall that robbed a neighbour who was Indian, who got gold in a house, and they did it in broad daylight, and they just didn't see my cameras. And then on another occasion, my bikes got stolen. Now my bikes are unique because I build them, and I'm quite a serious mountain biker. When I get on a bike, I do these crazy stunts, you know, and I teach people how to do them. And my bike's the only one of its kind in this country. It's called the Diamondback Scapegoat. It popped up last year again, by the way, on eBay. You can never sell it because there's only one of them over here. And I'll know it every time it's alerted. It took me a year, but I found it, right? Report it to the police. The police say that, they say, well, how can you prove it's yours? You got a frame number. I said, no, but I've got a photo of it, and even the zip ties are the same colour, the pedals, the seats are the same height, blah, blah, blah. And they weren't going to go. But then my friend who I ride with tells me that he's got a friend in CID in Mould who's a mountain biker. So he gives him a ring. He gets hold of Wrexham police and tells them they've got to go to Welsh Pool because to have a look. So they send Welsh Pool police. Welsh Pool police go have a look and they say, yes, we've seen the bike, but it's in a nice house in a nice area. We don't believe this man's a thief. So I say to them, so is that all you need to be a thief, is just to look presentable, you know, and then you can just keep anyone's property? And then he said, well, he says he bought it and he used it for winter training. And I said, well, ask him to what shoes he used then, because it's got clipless pedals, you know. Apparently they did, and the guy burst into tears. And they said, to be fair to him, he was a student. He was the son of a guy with a painter and decorator business. And they said, it's really going to ruin his life if we do him. And it's not him that you want, it's the guy that's stolen it and sold it to him. And I said, well, yeah, I said, offer him that deal. Say, tell us who you got it off. Apparently what he said to them was, I can't tell you because he knows them. I know who they are now. It took me a while, right? And then I get the names, I won't mention them, from the coppers of the 2 guys that have been in my shed, right? I've met these since, by the way. One of them threatened me. It's part of a little organised ring. The police are completely aware of it, because when I went to recover the bike, I saw all these other stolen bikes. Now I'm a mountain biker. I meet mountain bikers all the time, and you know the decent ones, and you're like, oh, that one is definitely someone who rides. And I said I could probably, with photographs, reunite most of these bikes with their owners. And they said, no, we can't allow you to do that. Because as far as I'm aware, they get auctioned off, and the money, I don't know where the money goes.
Probably in the police's back pocket.
That's exactly what I think happens. I think.
Or they
There
go down
didn't
the road
seem
and
to.
see the dealer who looks after all the drugs that get confiscated.
Yeah, I can tell you stories about that because I've had friends who've had that done, and they've had like so much taken and so only so much declared in court, and they're not going to argue. You know, there's deals done. Dirty deeds done behind closed doors. But I think for the first time in history, it's affected everyone in Wales in some way or other.
Mm.
So 3 years ago, if you told people this, they'd have a go at you. Don't be silly, da da da. But now they've been to the police and they've felt what it's like to deal with them. I call
Yeah.
it
And, and
shouting at.
and to be fair, there's so much of it being reported now, isn't there? Every other story on the internet is corruption by the police somewhere along the lines.
What do you think's going to happen though? So what do you do when the whole system is so corrupt that so in Wales you report it to the IOPC. The IOPC send you a heavily redacted transcript that has no information in it and said we found nothing.
Mm.
Then have to appeal and it goes back to the police to investigate themselves. And they appoint the guy that you're complaining about as the person to investigate.
Mm.
That's happened.
I do wonder whether this is all part of a bigger picture, like problem, reaction, solution. So, the police are so corrupt, something's got to be done about it. So they offer you a solution that you ordinarily wouldn't
Mission Creek.
accept,
Yeah.
but because of what's gone on first, you go, yeah, yeah, okay, we'll accept that.
So, well, I think personally that the solution is to get the army in as an emergency police force, but that's why they've deployed them so far away.
Mm.
So the British Army are deployed on foreign shores, peacekeeping over there. As far as I'm aware, there's rumours that UN peacekeepers are over here ready to control
Coming over
this.
on dinghies.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
stuck in private hotels. This is all stuff that I'm seeing that I've no experience of doing. That's not what I'm interested in. There's a whole thing where they're bringing so many immigrants in, which is partly our fault for bombing their countries.
Hmm.
Maybe if we stop bombing them, they'll stop wanting to come here to stop being bombed. I don't know.
No, that
See
makes sense.
and that means that we're all looking at the wrong guys. We're all going, oh, these people are the bad guys. And in the meantime, like for example, corruption. Betsy Cadwallader, the Health Board, Health Trust, right? I mean, they've got a mental health doctor in there that is referred to as Dr. Death by his colleagues, lovingly,
Blimey.
who's abused people to neglected them. It's so many times you'll see it, more could have been done, more could have been done. You can't get hold of them after your first appointment. Once they've given you the drugs, they're not bothered, right? So during lockdown, £122 million goes missing from Betsy Cadwallader Health Board, Health Trust. You can Google this, £122 million fraud. The police say, nothing to see here. So people kick off, so they'll do another inquiry. Nothing to see. Oh, we can't trace it, blah, blah, blah. So that's fine then, isn't it? So Sarah Atherton MP, Conservative MP, volunteered as a nurse at Betsy Cadwallader for the entire of lockdown. Funny that, isn't it? Can't get her to do anything. She's claiming she knew nothing about it. The AstraZeneca virus was stored next to the blood service. They had writing there. A lot of that got smashed up. 122 million just happens to be the amount that was spent on PPE that was left in containers that never got used. Just saying. It's just a coincidence. These are all things that when you question them, you get told that you are breaking community standards or in some way, and then they'll say you're harassing them. If you talk about it too much online, and they'll actually issue arrest warrants for harassment. They'll tell you you're harassing the police if you call them liars, if you question their judgment.
Like you say, you can't make this up, really, can you? It's ridiculous.
I think it's a cluster B personality disorder. I think it's narcissism. I think that. Did you see Doctor Who? No, I haven't watched Doctor Who for years, but I watched at Christmas. I saw some Christmas specials, and there was a thing called the Meep.
I haven't watched it for a while.
Well, it was a little creature.
Not since they went really woke.
Yeah, but it takes the piss out of its own wokeness at the Christmas one. It's quite funny, but this little Meep, he's just like he's a little cute, cuddly creature, but he's actually the bad guy. And the Doctor Who says something that's amazing. He goes, "The trouble is, everyone thinks they're right," and that is the trouble.
No, that is the truth.
No one's prepared to think that they might be wrong, and that's the only way you're going to learn, really, is just go, well, do you know, I love being wrong.
Mm.
Um,
It's funny you should say that because I done a podcast with Alan Miller from the Together Declaration yesterday, recorded that. And we're saying, you need to have both sides of the debate in order to A, find a middle ground, and B, to, if conversations go underground, whether it's racism, whatever it is, it's worse.
it's exactly what I've been saying. It's
Yeah.
great, by the way. So I've been saying this for so many years. The only thing that I would fight for is your right for freedom of speech, and I would fight for a racist's right for freedom of speech, because if I don't know he's got racist opinions, I can't talk to him and say, well, I don't think that's right, you know.
Exactly.
But and it goes underground, and it is going underground. This is why you've got massive rise in the right, the far right in this country. And I mean, Tommy Robinson, good guy, bad guy, I don't know. He's got a right to say what he's got to say. I don't agree with what he says.
Mm.
I think he highlights issues in the Asian population more than he does in his own. I think that we need to drop the hate crime, the race and the sex in all of these things and go, right, this man has been assaulted. You know, all crimes equal. A white guy getting assaulted, an Asian man getting assaulted, it's the same.
Yeah,
same.
it's not a question of left or right. It's a question of right or wrong.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And I don't know. There's another little saying I came up with that it's not the truth that matters anymore. It's the way you spin the lie that counts.
Yeah.
And you see that with alternative facts, which. So I got banned from Twitter, a lifetime ban, years ago, for bullying Donald Trump, and I was Mango Mussolini and Tango Tyrant,
Mhm.
and unfortunately they don't understand sarcasm, so you get banned for it. But my last two tweets were, "Steady on, old man. We wouldn't like you having a heart attack before you go to trial." Apparently that was too threatening. But with Boris had tweeted, "I'd rather be dead in a ditch than do a U-turn on Brexit." And I went, "Oh God, it's a bit drastic, but go on then." They're so
Yeah,
sensitive.
they are. I mean, I only just sort of because of the way I talk, but this was TikTok, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I just replied, "All right, sugar tits."
Oh,
No, we can't have that. No, that goes against community standards. But
the way
Facebook's quite happy to have porn and violence on there, but
I
it's
got banned
such
from
a
nipple, right? I sneakily,
really.
yeah. What I did, so I was at Sark filming at Sark Fest, and I met this Czechoslovakian or Slovakian, and she was a distance swimmer, and she said, "Let's go skinny dipping," and I was like, "All right then." Grabbed my camera, and the next minute she's just lying on a rock naked. And I'm thinking, "Oh, yeah, okay." Took a few photos, but they're tasteful. You know what I mean? They're not like porn. And she liked them. She said, "Put them up." So I did. Put 24-hour ban straight away for a single nipple. So apparently, what you should do is cut and paste a man's nipple on, because they're allowed. And then in the same thing, I'm reporting people that are putting up graphic images or porn or whatever on my feed, and they're saying, "No, we'd find nothing wrong with these accounts."
I know. I'd love to know who these people are who okay and not okay these things.
Well, when you appeal, it then tells you there's no one available to see your appeal. Sorry. So who is? It's algorithms, isn't it? They're looking
Yeah.
for stuff.
We're
But
already
it's
being
deliberate.
run by AI.
Yeah. So one of the things I did when I got first started on Facebook, and I wasn't active at all until lockdown, really. I used to use it to keep in touch like most older people do, was I put myself in as a female pot noodle farmer that had to become an exotic dancer since the great pot noodle famine of 1976 or whatever. And then I'm one of those people that when I got in the car and we got smartphones, the Google Maps would say it's 20 minutes to your destination. I go somewhere else. I just thought I'm not being controlled. It knows where I'm going, and that annoyed me. And because of working in EPOS and dealing with loyalty cards, I've never had one. I don't like junk mail. And
No.
I look at the numbers and I would work out ways to sell more efficiently to people. That's what they're used for. So everything that collects data is used to analyze human behavior, like ants, and control you. And I'm one of those people that really doesn't like being controlled. I've been in those kind of relationships, and I'm not a lawbreaker or any of that stuff. I just,
A free spirit.
yeah, well, if the law is stupid, you should ignore it. If it's also, so if you,
Well, this is why they've done away with things like trial by jury, because the jury had the power to say this law is pathetic.
yeah,
We're getting rid of it.
yeah,
So there's a big difference between jury trial and trial by jury, and so they've done away with the trial by jury. 12 Angry Men.
your peers, yeah, um, they seem to be doing a lot away with a lot of stuff. So at one point, I was homeless in my van in Huddersfield, which they've been aware of for quite some time because I've been helping them with inquiries into other things that I've witnessed while I've been on the road. And I get arrested and taken down to Wales to be interviewed about something I'm already talking to them about whilst I'm reporting corruption to them. So what I've been doing it took me a little while to realise that I wasn't going mad and that I was being lied to over reporting crime, and that I was having my witness rights violated. Every witness should be treated equally in law. So in this country, it appears that if you are a white male, you've got less rights than anyone else, because if, for example, your partner accuses you of domestic violence during a lockdown, you're homeless. That's that. Only people they could make homeless. So I've been meeting these people, and I'm one of them. I just about survived, who have no money, no way of fighting any private civil battles to get what they're owed back, are in danger because of the rumours that are being spread by them, by their partners who've got personality disorders, So I started recording, and I've recorded phone conversations, emails, caller numbers, and then I've had police leak me things from who are desperate themselves. That police officer in particular has, I won't name him here because he'll be named in various things, all the caller numbers, has lost his job. By doing that and putting it online, people who are being abused in North Wales have been contacting me and telling me their stories, and we've recorded bits and bobs. What I want to do with it all is release it all on the same day. I want to edit it so it's voices saying what's happening in real time, because as soon as I release it, the abuse will go up. It's what they do. There's a pattern of behaviour, by the way. If you ring the police, they go off for 5 days. So what I started doing was copying, say, 20 police officers into an email and getting 20 responses. We're all on annual leave. More holidays than Santa. So
It's like teachers.
Well, then you start looking into psychological torture tactics, where they say they'll ring you back and they don't, where they say they'll respond and they don't. And then you realise that what they're doing is they're making you wait till you die. And you'll be there in limbo forever. I meet so many people. And I thought, I just can't be that person. So off I went and got an acting job. Decided to become an actor. And it wasn't that straightforward. It was, I was in Albert Hall, Albert Schloss in Manchester, doing my job at 9:30 in the evening, having driven from the tour in Glastonbury up, got changed in a van, run across, but I took my camera with me. While I was there monitoring a system to see what was happening for the company that owned it, and there was this amazing act on stage, and it was a lady on a piano. Turns out, took some photos of her. She asked me for the photos. Turns out she's only a model, singer, actress, everything. And she thought I was a photographer. And I said, no, I was there doing the tills. And we just got on, and she said, you used to have a go at acting. So I did. I applied for a part in a comedy, and then I only realised on the morning I was going down there, I'd never, not since I was a kid, been in a play. I had no idea how I'd be when the cameras went on, and they went on, and I just became this really funny old man. So, and it's a comedy about racism, actually. It's not come out yet. And then from there, I just got sucked into all these other films. And then I met travelers like you do when you're in a van. And I got to film Gypsies by Fire. They weren't happy at first, but when they saw what I did, they were happy. It was a risk. And I'm doing all this. And then in the meantime, back in North Wales, there's stuff going on in family courts that I don't know about. You know,
Mm.
all sorts of stuff. And you then try to get back at it and say, no, this isn't right. I was over here. She's claiming this. I'm not even in that part of the country. What's going on? Then you realise that you're shouting at clouds. Nobody's listening. Coming out of lockdown, there's such a backlog of cases that they were like, is he there? No, tick. That one's done. Guilty. Tick, that one's done. Granted. Tick, that one's done. And now the cost of unpicking all that is going to be enormous. Enormous. So I started doing what you shouldn't do. I started recording the family court conversations. I never got into court. I only got to as far as the admin. So I started recording their lies. And I've just got loads. Not me.
This really does seem to be a national problem because, I've been talking, did a podcast with Gary Waterman, the ex-policeman. I've been talking to my friend Robbie Robinson, who's also been having issues with the courts and with children and stuff. I've also been speaking with Lindsay, and I'm going to help him put together a pilot documentary about the abuse of children and adults. And
So
he's a prosecutor for the UN.
the abuse of children, right? So I
Right.
went to school in Llanfairpwll, Gwyngyllgoge, Gair Chwyn. They built a children's home there, right? We were in school with the kids, right? And they were our friends. Some of them had behavioural issues, but they were our friends. These kids, I noticed, were getting bullied by teachers at school, certain ones. And there was one called Darren Laverty. You might want to look him up. Look up Bryn Estyn, Darren Laverty. And he was older than me, and everyone was scared of him. Yeah, and he was shagging really young, and from Holyhead. Then he leaves, and years later, I moved to Wrexham when I'm 18. And who do I see on the news but Daz Laverty talking about the sex scandal? So they'd been through it all the time we were friends with them, and they were protected. The people that were sexually abusing these kids were protected by North Wales Police. And as far as I know, because it involved a kids' home in Wrexham, and it involves the people that run the fucking town. So Alfred McAlpine was one of the people in the frame. I noticed it's not the McAlpine stand anymore.
Mm.
And then what you notice is that certain people get scapegoated, because I know. And then what happens is they start fitting up the people that were the victims as drug addicts and whatever. Well, I'm not fucking surprised, So anyway, Darren Laverty's gone and got himself a degree in law, and he's so at the moment they're trying to fit him up as a dealer. He's going to talk to me at some point, but he's going through courts at the moment, so he can't. So I knew him years ago, and I just on a whim said, "Hey, Daz, I've seen your story, mate. Fucking hell, what?" And there's others, and then he's listed the ones that are no longer here,
Mm.
So it's a death sentence. I think trauma at some point is going to get you. But how you live,
Especially if you haven't got a decent network of people around you.
no one's listening, are they? That's the trouble. So everyone, as someone said something to me, everyone's trauma is really big to themselves, but you can't compare your mum dying age 90 to what
No.
happens to age 6, and especially if that involves their parents' knowledge.
Yeah. One's sad, one's tragic.
Yeah. So these people, I mean, I meet them all the time. Trust issues, blah blah blah. I try not to. I've never had that abuse. I've had mental and physical, and that makes you tougher. I think you learn how to deal with it. But that would be a bridge too far for me. That's taking away everyone's power completely, isn't it? Saying you're useless. You're just to be used. And then what happens is you'll find that the people that do that will accuse you of it. It's the Goebbels technique, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a monster. I've cancelled you now. Look over there. Don't look at me. And this woke culture's really warped people's logic, the way they think. Apparently, you can identify as anything you want. Yeah.
I do wonder whether that's a sly way where, like, even on passport and government forms, if you declare yourself to be anything other than a man or a woman, then you're not human. So then your human rights have gone.
I pointed this out to the police, right? When I got arrested, it went out live, by the way, on Facebook, and he was doing the thing where they put the cuff on you and trying to break your arm, twisting it, really hurting it, and it was swelling, you know. And I just looked at him and I said, "Are you human?" And he said, "Of course I am." And I said, "Well, I don't think you are, because you don't seem to have empathy or sympathy. And if you look at humanity, that's the first rule.
Mm.
You're treating me as if I'm guilty of something. Well, you're a suspect." And I went, "Suspicion is not guilt. I'm a human here. You don't know anything about my history. You know."
Mm.
When I got checked in, they said, "Is this your first offence?" I said, "I've committed no offences." And they went, "Oh, no criminal record, no history." They were treating me the way they'd formulated a picture of me in their heads based on what they've been told and based on what they would be like in that, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone treats you like that.
A
So the
false
things,
perception.
yeah, the things that I get accused of are things that wouldn't cross my mind. You know, as a photographer, I'm there because I want to get nice pictures and nice film of other people. I'm not there, and yet people go, "You're filming my kids." No, I'm not. But if they are in it, I'll blank them out if that's what you want. But you could have a look if you liked and see what I'm doing.
Mm. So that is the trouble. We've become such a paranoid nation. You know,
Pedogeddon.
exactly. You know, even down to the point where if you see a child crying on the side of the road, or you see a child fall over and they're crying, your instincts are to go and comfort that child and make sure they're okay, and But
So
now
have you
people are so scared because
got kids of your own?
any kids.
No, but did you have any of your
Oh
own?
yeah, sorry, yeah, I've got an 8-year-old and a 11-year-old.
So mine's 22 now, and I didn't want a kid. Then when he came along, whoa, totally different. You know,
Mm.
your instinct, it changes. And while he was growing up, I wasn't really interested in other people's kids, but now he's gone. I'm missing that dad thing. You know,
Mm.
it takes up so much of your life that when it's gone, it's like a bereavement. You know.
Yeah, it's that big gaping hole.
Yeah, but then I mean, I'll be in a supermarket in a queue, and kids, because I look funny, you know, so they're going like that round their mum's thingies, and I'll just go like that or something, and they'll be giggling, and you don't know how it's going to go with the parents,
Yeah,
and that
which
was
is so
just
sad. Which is such a sad. It's a sad way that we've become.
well, it's caused, I think, by an institutional pedos. Is the only way to say it, really. I think that they're so high up in our, judicial system, royalty, government,
Entertainment.
that they've set this fear up so they can hide behind gaslighting anyone else and everyone else.
Mm.
So, like, a good example is, so I was on Anglesey. There's an MP called Stuart Andrew, MP. He's going to love me.
Yeah, don't incriminate ourselves for God's sake.
No, this is all verifiable. He got punched in the face in Parliament. Now, his mum was my mum's best friend. Used to sleep on our floor. We used to babysit. He's one of 4 kids, grew up on single parent benefit. Then moved to a council house in Llanfaes. None of this is in his Wikipedia. They do talk about his deprived childhood. Came out as gay on the radio to Jeremy Paxman when he was a Lib Dem. That's not even in his history. Then went Labour, Conservative, till he won Pudsey. And he's the guy that was Deputy Chief Whip on the day they did the Brexit vote. But he gets punched in a bar headbutted in a bar in Parliament, and the guy that headbutted him is a Lib Dem MP and ex-war hero. The next minute, that guy is being investigated for historic sex crime. Funny that, isn't it?
Mm.
Just that's all I'm saying. And by the way, Stuart Andrew MP gets investigated for financial anomalies in his election campaign, which I mean, it took him a long time to win anything, and there was a bit more than there should have been or something, but it's okay. He's
No.
still MP, you know.
So going back to you then, because you said about you pretty much living in a van now.
Yeah. So
What started that? How did that come about?
on the 17th of May, when I was made homeless, all I had was my company car and a key, bag of cameras. That's and some clothes. And I went to my friend's house and I thought, right, I'll get myself some rented accommodation. So I picked the phone up. You are in a group of 4, in a queue of 10 groups of 4, just to view the property. There weren't any. So I then remember that I used to have a business partnership with some people who now run a property management company. And I speak to them and he goes, well, we've got a room that's been empty all through lockdown, but it's never been cleaned or anything. We can maybe get you in that. And they managed to in Chester. It was in a really bad place. It was between safe houses and drug dealers. It was nuts. So anyway, someone attacks me in there with a knife. First time I've had to defend myself since I'm a kid. Turkish waiter. And I ring the police and they arrive and they say, well, he says you attacked him. We can't kick him out. And I went, you what? I said, well, so how come I've been evicted from my house in Wrexham under a rumour that someone's put about? And you can't evict him, and he's just attacked me. And he said, what's your word against his? So I said, well, you can't leave me here because he's going to attack me again the minute you've gone out. So I had to get all my stuff out of the house in like 10 minutes again, back into my car, back to my mates. And I ended up at my brother's for a bit, and then at on a canal boat for 9 days, where I met someone who knew some gypsies who were selling a van. Went to see them, secured a loan against the house that she says isn't mine, bought the van, because it was the only option. It was that or a shop doorway or your friends' couches until they got fed up with you. Because believe you me, when you're homeless, people get very bored of it very quickly. It's a concept they can't get to grips with. They don't realise that you can't just get up in the morning and turn a tap on. Or, everything costs more when you're on the street to stay warm,
Yeah, definitely.
So from the van, that was really weird. I'd thought about getting a van for years just for weekends because of my mountain biking and what I like doing. And then I end up sat in this van on a car park and I just think, shit, I've always wondered what it's like to live in a van, warts and all. So I set Walter Mitty up and just put this thing. I'm not homeless. I'm like a tin snail. I got my house on my back, and a little tagline: "Homeless, not not hopeless."
Yeah.
And just start recording and being honest about stuff. And I'm quite shy. I don't really hadn't done anything to camera before, and it took other people to encourage me. But as soon as I did, and started talking about the perils of shitting in a bag in the dark, the first time you actually have to, and you do have to. I'm sorry, occasionally it happens, and actually. As soon as I got in the van and started eating more natural, I went from 16 stone to the 11 that I'm at now. Skin cleared, eyes cleared, seemed to get all my fitness back.
Oh yeah, diet is the main contributor for most illnesses and inflammation. It's
stress, the cortisol. So I've had trauma in my life, right? But I've never had it to the point that my stomach hurt, like really hurt, and my head. You'd have taken anything to get rid of that pain in your head, just to switch it off for a minute. No sleep, all that. I knew something had gone wrong. And it was only through a mountain bike park was where it first happened. I stopped to ask one of the dirt jumpers how they were getting so high over this particular jump. And he looked at me and he went, "We're not getting any higher than you." And then they were soldiers and they just looked at each other and they went, "PTSD." I was like, I know what it is now. I can do something about it. Because I knew, you know what I mean? I used to be quite a quiet, reserved person, and then suddenly I'm wanting to Tell people that the world isn't like it is, But
Yeah.
I
Your
had someone
calling.
in a bike park, right? I'd been coaching his son all day. And he turns up in his Volvo at the end of the day, and he's talking to me. And he said something about homeless in Manchester, and he goes, "There's no excuse for it." And I said, "You do know that I'm homeless, don't you? That's my house right there." The ignorance is phenomenal, but it's not their fault. Through the telly, they're all told that there's provision and that people are being taken care. They're being taken care of, all right, by the way,
Mm.
not in the way you think of. Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
So Betsy Cadwallader fucked me right over. And the only way to treat it, I went to them for help because I was feeling suicidal, and I ummed and ahed about it for ages. Now, my dad, by the way, committed suicide, so I've experienced this. 93. I know that I'm 10 times more likely to do it than somebody who hasn't. So I think I best go and do something because I really want to jump off a bridge. And it took a lot
Mm.
to do that, but I think doing that tells me I didn't really want to jump off the bridge. The fact that I
No, it's a
just,
cry for help.
yeah, but I didn't, in my head, I rehearsed it, and the bridge that I was looking at, I've dangled off it many times for a stunt, so. And the fact that I was picturing it told me it was time to do something about it. So I go to them for help. They say to me, "Do you think you may have been the victim of coercive control and financial abuse?" And I went, "Yes." Light went on. I mean, I'd always known. So then I get half an hour talking to a team where they asked me about my dad, and I said my dad was interesting. He was an alcoholic and he was a domestic abuser, and we think he may have been bipolar. We don't know. You know, that's the only chat I got with them. They give me diazepam and this drug that is for anxiety and anorexia because I haven't eaten for 4 days. I then get on this boat after a while, and I'm taking these tablets. I cannot sleep. I didn't sleep
Mm.
on diazepam, nothing. And then those drugs, the anti-anxiety ones, are dangerous. So I don't have low confidence. I don't really suffer with anxiety. Um, I'm a naturally optimistic person. Don't give anti-anxiety drugs to an optimistic person. You think you're fucking superhero.
Mm.
Literally felt like I could do anything. So I came off them and I
Almost like being
ordered.
drunk. That false sense of I'm untouchable. I can do anything.
So I then disappear for a bit. Um, the police end up looking for me as a missing person at the marina where I've disappeared from, even though I'm on the phone to them from Manchester. I'm saying, "What are you doing?" Yeah, so I start to think, shit, this is bad. Why is there two lots of police? One that I'm talking to and another lot. Because my friends down at the marina are ringing me saying, "No, the police are looking for you." They're saying, "Is he dangerous?" Like, what? What's going on here? So then all my friends start rumours go around. You start losing your friends. People don't want to talk to you because the police have been around. I mean, the reason I got attacked in Chester was because I reported something to the police and told them I'd meet them somewhere to talk to them about it, and they turned up at the shared house. These shared house loonies thought I was a copper or something, I don't know. You don't know what people think.
No, no.
So
Mm.
I go back to see Betsy Cadwallader after doing a month down at Stonehenge of music therapy with um, druids, I call them. People that just know about putting stuff out your head for a while and recovering. And then I go back, as agreed, to see the NHS to get discharged. I go in, I tell them that I need to go back to my house to go and get my possessions and that I'm going to do that. And will they let me go? And they go, "Yeah, fine." They say, "You seem to be going a little bit fast." I said, "You don't understand. All my life's in that house and evidence that I'm innocent and she's disposing of it right now and I need to go," which I do. Discharge me. And then I said I'd agreed to come back in, was it August or something like that, right? August comes around, I try ringing them, get no answer. No answer whatsoever. Keep getting put through, can't get through to the team. So I send emails, no response. I do that for a full year, right, to try to find out what's going on. And when I eventually get through, I record the conversation and it's up on YouTube. And all she's going doing is, go to the police station, go to your nearest hospital, you need help. And I'm going, no, I'm ringing up to find out what happened.
Mm.
And luckily I had someone with me. And she goes, do you think he's unwell? And she goes, no, he just wants to know what's going on. And she went, oh, I don't like your tone, you're harassing me. Put the phone down. Then find out that I haven't even got through to my team because the receptionists have just decided no. Computer says no. They even ring up pretending to be other people. It's like children. I got it all recorded. It would have made me laugh had it have not cost me everything, the DWD, everything.
Yeah.
So then I get through to them, and I get through to a guy called Josh who's just there. And I said, well, can you get my notes, please, and tell me what's happened? Because I need something for the court to prove that I didn't, that I've got CPTSD, blah, blah, blah. So, well, I didn't say what it was. And he goes, CPTSD, you read it out. I've got the recording. So anyway, a bit later, someone else from the team rings. I've got her name. And she goes, yeah, Mr. Black, we'll send out a letter for you. What do you want us to do? I said, I want you to contact the court and tell them that I was supposed to be with you when I was supposed to be in the court. All this timeline stuff, and the police need to know that I got CPTSD and that I wasn't abusive, blah, blah, blah. And we can sort this all out now. A week later, I get a letter through telling me I was bipolar disorder. And that's when I go, that's what they say everyone they wanted to get rid of is. Because now they can section you.
They've weaponized mental health.
They have. And it's all a load of bollocks. It's total bollocks. If you deal with the root cause, as I've always known, not the symptom, you'll be away. But and the way I see it, right, people in the NHS make mistakes. But because the culture is, if you tell someone you're in trouble, there's a cover-up culture. And if you blow the whistle, my ex-partner was a nurse, and I helped her get a degree and all sorts of stuff. And the stories I've heard and stuff I've seen, to be fair, because they regularly bring shit home, drugs that they've accidentally forgotten about, Class A cocodamols and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying most, but a lot of nurses are on antipsychotic medication themselves. The figures are that 1 in 3 people in this country coming out of lockdown was supposed to be mentally ill, and that means 1 in 3 police officers, 1 in 3 judges, 1 in 3 solicitors. Everyone's got PTSD.
Yeah.
And it's like a powder keg out there. Since I've been in a van, I've noticed it more. I didn't believe in the full moon thing, right? Till I started noticing how angry people are on full moon, how weird things are. So now full moon comes along, I lock myself in my van and just stay there for the day, Just notice that people on the roads get more angry. We're made of water, aren't we? And the gravity of the moon.
90%.
Yeah, the gravity of the moon, as it passes you, affects it and how close it is. That's how the tides work, isn't it? So
apparently, yeah.
Yeah, we're all just water. There you go. Water and a bit of carbon.
So what's your what does the future hold for you moving forward?
I have no idea. So, ironically, I've been invited to be a Pet XI inspirational speaker for kids, a sort of assistant teacher, because I got quite a scientific brain. And I not understand, but kids that are, they call them autistic, are just very intelligent often, or ADHD or whatever it is. They're just being not handled in the way they're supposed to. So this Pet XI,
they're being suppressed.
Yes, and they do things where they take teams of 3 people into a school for those kids that are just about to go into, be suspended but are gifted. The ones that maybe looked out the window at a crucial point, didn't hear, but are too proud to ask a question or too shy. So that kind of thing where you just go around assisting teachers. Then I've also been invited to be a Sublime Scientist presenter, which was quite fun. I went and did that. And that's for kids' parties. So I quite like entertaining kids. I like coaching kids mountain biking. When I say kids, from about the age of 12 onwards. Um, and I like making films. I'm hoping that I'm going to be a bit of an all-rounder, that I film at festivals through the summer, make films about them through the winter, and on my travels, do a bit of travel stuff. I'm hoping to get to Gambia because I want to reconnect with some old business contacts down there I've been talking to, from when I and do a little bit of what I used to do over there for a friend of mine who's Lebanese, um, and a couple of Gambians. I just want to live. I want to do what I want to do for the first time in my life, and not what
Yeah.
everyone's been telling me that I should do. And then I realised that at work, and you can't blame your boss for this. I mean, one of the daft things he said to me when I first got back out of lockdown is, if I thought your future was in photography, I'd tell you. I just said, how would you know?
Yeah.
You're not an
God
artist.
complex.
Yeah, but it's their fear of losing you, and to be fair, I wouldn't have left had I have been treated fairly, you know.
Mm.
Um, so I think they know that now, you know. I think people are slowly waking up to the fact that despite the fact that people think that employers have got the upper hand, they no longer have.
No.
The case
But especially since lockdown, people have realised that there's more to life than work.
you try getting a full-time employee. I've just been offered work, $600 a week for 4 hours every morning, taking care of someone's emails and marketing and all that stuff, and you're like, no, locking myself to one position for 4 hours a day when something else might come in, and for $600. How much are you making, mate? So
Mm.
it's it's not about money. It's about doing something that you enjoy. I mean, I get paid less than that for some films, some of the
Well,
films.
this is kind of the same situation with me, really. My main income, and it's very, very low, is YouTube. And it's because I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy, getting information out to people. And so I've made the decision that I want to try and grow my channel for that reason.
You're a
Mon-
networker.
yeah, money's the afterthought, but it is handy.
It's more than that. I literally, because of what the DWP did to me, I can't get any. So this is a shocker because I've been on the dole in my life twice. The first time was 6 months, and it was 1985. Boys from the Black Stuff. I'm in the dole queue with my dad, Um, and then I get on a manpower. Weirdly enough, Maggie saved me. I get on a manpower service commission scheme thing in YTS, and that gets me on my feet in electronics and work to Bangor Uni and stuff like that. Now, it wasn't fair system, but at least you had some money. You could
Yeah.
afford to eat, live. They pay you rent, whatever. Then later on, when I was made redundant, I end up on the dole for 2.5 months, and I remember saying to them, "I won't be here for long because I can't sit still," and I get myself back off that and on my feet. So I think this is going to be quite straightforward. So I'm wondering, I'm really busy because I've been doing all these films and all this stuff, and I've had to jack my job in. And I say I'm about to launch a production company. We're just getting funding together. And I'm doing acting, and I just need this in case to pay for other cracks, to pay for the basically 174 quid a month outgoings that I've got. Nothing. Then I'm told that I will have to look for work for 35 hours a week or take a bar job. And I got stress, CPTSD. I found something that can be a job for me that is also therapy at the same time. I don't have a 35-hour spare a week. If you make me come, and then because I'm homeless, I have to come in there to do it and sit in front of their computers and be seen to be doing it. And they said, or you've got to then prove that you've got a business plan. And I went, I don't have to do any of that. I've paid my tax and I've generated millions in tax over the years through corporate tax from other companies, for years. I'm an artist. She goes, I used to be an artist. And I said, no, you didn't. What do you mean? There's no such thing as used to be an artist, is there? And then she said, I said, no, I'm not signing that. I'm not doing that. Because I'm not going to give you 35 hours a week. I'm off sick anyway. And then she goes, well, you'll have to. And I went, no, you have to. I don't. It's a choice. And I just got up and walked. And then she made me sit back down, filled the forms in. I got accepted. I got a £300 loan, which meant I could eat. And then I was to go back for an interview. I went back at the aforementioned time. Now there's 2 buildings, job centres in Huddersfield. I went to the one that they said that was in the email. No one there. You're at the wrong building. By the time I get across the other building, stressed now, I'm told that I've missed an appointment and I was sanctioned. So then I complain, which means you sat on the phone again for ages, to some guy who seems horrified and is definitely going to do something about it. Not heard from them since. And I have to start a new claim. So you're now into another 6 weeks. So at that point, without your friends, you're a dead man.
Yeah. Which is where they want you, isn't it? That's,
They pay
I got fed up of all these job fairs, and so I said, right, well, this is my business plan. I'm looking at doing what I'm doing as a business, plus obviously doing videos for clients and stuff,
Yeah.
editing, and so I've got to go back in on 20th of May or something like that to see how it's going. But I think these things take time, and if you're working for somebody else, then you haven't got the time to do both. I don't know what my future really holds when it comes to all this either, if I'm
I've had
honest.
some real big surprises. Friends that I've known for years that I don't see for years suddenly go, here's 500 quid, here's 2 grand, here's whatever, get yourselves there. Don't worry about giving us back. But I can't do that. I've got to pay it back. I never, I didn't have debt before. I didn't have any of that. I'd worked hard. So 2008, I cleared my debts just before the credit crunch. You know how pissed off I was when I had to clear everyone else's.
Mm,
No one took responsibility for their own debt, and they aren't again.
no,
But to be fair, it's all false anyway because there's no gold standard. It's all quantitatively eased money. It doesn't exist.
no, it doesn't.
That's another case of corruption, isn't it? The mint printing money. It's not allowed. You're only supposed to replace the money as it wears out. Not supposed to be more circulation. So it's all counterfeit. And
Of
then
course it is.
they're lending it to you, making interest on it. Everyone's working like slaves to pay off something that doesn't exist, so they can buy yachts, luxury yachts. Apparently, that's where the money goes. They stick it in those huge ocean liners. So let's repossess them. Philip Green, for example.
Yeah.
So they always change the law and go, oh, the law wasn't that way at the time, so we can't do anything. So they're just going, look at my big boat. Yay!
Yeah. No,
So,
absolutely. No, this is the way of the world, unfortunately.
they made a show of it, of getting rid of all the Russian money, didn't they? So they tell Abramovich he can't come back to the UK, but they let him knock a bridge down in Rotterdam to get his luxury ocean liner out of thingy and escape. So it's all. So everyone knows that Tony Blair lowered his standards to allow oligarch money into this country, and now, I'm not blaming the Russians. I'm blaming us. You get the government you vote for, basically.
Yeah.
We've been a bit apathetic for way too long. Sleepwalking into dictatorship.
Exactly. No, I don't think there's much allegedly about it.
But
But
you know
no.
about the rise of narcissism? I read an article, must have been 30 years ago, about how the system was changing to promote narcissism, and the way to get your kids to get ahead nowadays was not to teach them not to be nice, but to get what's theirs, right? And they said this is going to put us in an alarming position, and they predicted around about now. And if you look at narcissist pandemic, you'll see that in 1974, when they measured it, it was 12%. And it's a simple question you can ask kids: how important are you? And in the 70s, most kids felt they were part of a community. And they're like, oh, I'm no more important than the next man. You ask kids now, and they're all worth it. It's because of me. And that doesn't mean it's malignant, but that means that people's sense of self-importance is high. And that's the problem that we have.
I've said on many podcasts, and I'll say it on this one as well, the word ego to me is edging God out.
Well, I'm not religious. Although
I'm not religious.
Yeah,
that's man-made.
Indeed. So we've all got egos and we've all got narcissism. We'd have to, otherwise we wouldn't survive. So if it came down to it, and you were really hungry, and there was a loaf of bread there, and your mate's not quite so hungry, but he will be later, you'll eat it. That's that's normal. You have to survive. It's when it becomes twisted that you don't even think that anyone else is important or whatever. And sadly, video games, television, social media, it's all been geared towards desensitizing people, I think, now. And other people's lives are not even a concept in their heads,
No, I agree with that, yeah.
Conscience,
no, I agree with that.
It's just gone. So I never really liked. So I've done all these things really quite well over the years, like mountain biking. I could have been all sorts of things, but as soon as someone I don't know knows my name, when I'm out and they go, "Oh, I saw you at so and so," it starts to unnerve me. I don't really like it. So it feels foreign coming out as an artist and an entertainer is like coming out as gay to a working class kid. You know what I mean? Don't tell Dad, he'll kill me. I paint pictures. Some of my friends wear dresses and they're men.
I know. Oh dear. Well, listen, it's been great to talk to you. I'm sure we could have gone on for ages, but unfortunately I've got other podcasts to do.
Yeah. Well,
but I've really enjoyed speaking with you.
It's been nice, and I'm going to be looking at more of your podcasts now that I've found them as well.
Yeah, do.
That one with the guy from the DWP is a real eye-opener.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he, Alan?
Yeah, I disengaged with him because it was actually making me worse. It was better to think I'm getting nothing and deal with that than to waste so much of my life on phones and phone credit and God knows what else. That's another thing. Very quickly, if we've got to do everything online, when are we getting the free devices that we need? The 2 devices we need as well, and the reliable internet so that we don't die just trying to get through a gate or, in an
Exactly. None of it makes sense, does it?
No, it's social credit score and all that crap.
Isn't it? Yeah,
What
definitely.
do I know? I just fix tills.
Well, thank you very much. I hope everyone watching it has enjoyed themselves. Yeah, until the next time, look after yourself.
You come on mine, I'm interviewing you next time.
All right, done. Brilliant. All right then, mate. Take care. Speak soon. Bye.